Hey, so today we are going to make a bed frame. So let's get to it. All right, so we are going to make a bed frame today. I actually saw someone else on YouTube, another YouTuber, make this style kind of bed frame. I thought it was pretty neat and pretty cool, and I'd kind of like to put my own little spin on it. It can be made with just, once again, normal, average, everyday tools that everybody has. I am going to use the pocket hole jig. So if you don't have one and you're kind of into doing some of this kind of work, you should probably get one. So I haven't posted in a while, been sick, kind of had a cold, it's been nasty. So I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking, and let's do some working first. We got to start cutting some lumber to length. Here we go.
Alright, so now it's time to set up the jig here. I'm not going to go over a lot of the specifics with it. I did in a previous video. But basically you're going to put pocket holes at the ends of these boards. They're going to be kind of build a frame. You'll see it here in just a minute or two. But the key thing is to, you want to make sure that it's as stable as possible. And honestly, I mean, pocket holes are really the easiest form of joinery, and it makes things pretty stable as well. So check it out. It's also important to note here too also that a lot of these pocket holes that you're going to be making are going to be for holding really the pieces together. So it'll all make sense here in a minute. Alright, so now as you can see, we have all kind of the framing kind of laid out here. So you're going to have some support pieces that are going to go in the middle, and you've got one on each end. So there's the one in the middle. You've got your two longer pieces on the top and the bottom, and then you kind of have that bottom piece there as kind of a cap on the bottom, and then you've got your pieces there. Yeah, that's the wrong way. So you've got your pieces there, obviously, that are gonna hold the legs on as well. So it fits together really nicely. Alright, so here we're attaching the top rail. As you can see, this is where those pocket holes kind of come in. Um, like I said, it seems kind of complicated, but honestly, once you kind of know the layout, it's not too bad. And then also, what you can do too here is after you get in your pocket screws in there, um, you can countersink a couple of screws in at the top at the post, just for a little extra support. Alright, so now it's time to get these slat boards put on. Just cut them to length and put down a nice bead of glue. I'm using Titebond 2 on here because it doesn't really need to be waterproof. But once you get them on there, just tack them down with a couple of finish nails and you're good to go. If you need to, use a clamp or something to make sure that they're tied up against each other, then go ahead and do that. Now here I chose to use 1x4s, but you could also use 1x6s. In the other video that I was talking about, he actually used fence pickets because he liked the cedar kind of look, but I chose 1x4s. If I have to do another one, I'd probably use 1x6s. Be a little bit easier. Alright, so as you can see, got that front side done. In the original design was to basically just leave it like this, and that end would be facing the mattress, but I don't really like that. Alright, so I went ahead and finished both sides, just because I didn't want to leave that side open. And so now you want to give everything a really good sanding. Just try to make everything as smooth as possible. Sometimes with those pocket holes, they can be a little jagged and kind of leave some little wood particles and stuff around. So everything's a lot easier if you go ahead and sand it nice and smooth, especially if when you're going to put some kind of finish on it. So just take your time and get everything nice and smooth. Here I decided to kind of put some trim around the edge, just to kind of give it a more finished look. If you do everything right, you should have a 1/4 of an inch kind of space, kind of a gap right there. And so what I used was what they call like screen molding. It's the only thing that I could find that was a 1/4 of an inch, but it's nice and rounded on both sides and it looks nice, so it'll kind of give it a finished look. It didn't take very long to do, and I have found to miter my corners, I just trace it out on there and go ahead and make my cut. Trying to measure it exactly can be a little tedious, so I just go ahead and just mark it off on there and then make my cut, as you can see there. So I'm going to go ahead and make the cut, and that way you get as close to a perfect match there in the corner as possible, and then just once again just finish.
Alright everybody, so I got the trim put around the footboard and the headboard. So this is actually the headboard. I did not record it because it is put together the exact same way as the footboard is. So that's going to be the face of the footboard. Now the headboard, I did not fill in the back because it's going to be up against a wall. So I decided not to fill that in, but I mean, you can fill it in if you want to. I also didn't put any trim around the back side of the footboard. I have a few extra pieces. I may do that, I may not, we'll see. But if you decide to make this, I mean, it's kind of all up to you as to how you want to do it. So now we need to get started on the rails for each side, which is pretty simple.
Alright, so the first thing that we're going to need to do is cut these rails to length. I'm using 2x8s. which I think would work with a mattress and a box spring. But if not, you could always use a 2x10. But I chose to use 2x8s. Seemed to be the correct height, for what I needed, because I kind of felt like you want to make sure that the mattress, if it's just a mattress, that it's not going to slip off, or if it's a box spring, it's not going to slip off. Alright, so now we're going to get some 2x4s, and we're going to cut some 2x4s to length. If you have an 8-foot 2x4, you could just cut it to the same length as the rail. I had some scrap pieces, so I went ahead and filled it in with that. Alright, so now we're going to take those 2x4s and we're going to rip them down to 2 inches. And the reason why I chose 2 inches is because the 1x8, or the 2x8, is 1.5 inches plus 2 inches. That's going to give you 3.5, which is the same width as the posts. So it makes it nice and even all the way across and flush, which gives it a good look. Alright, so now it's time to install that 2x4s on your rails. Make sure you pre-drill your holes. Keeps that wood from splitting and cracking, and then you having to redo it. And you don't have to drive that screw as hard in. Goes a lot easier. So I'm using a 3.25 inch screw. So this is the hardware I got. Bought it off of Amazon. I chose black. I mean, they had other colors and stuff, but I really like the look. I basically created some blocks here at the same height as what I wanted the rail to be. Makes it a lot easier when you only have 2 hands and you're trying to get these brackets and stuff set up correctly. So makes it a lot easier to, like I said, kind of use that almost as like an. So here we're setting up getting everything screwed together and getting it screwed in. The whole process was pretty simple. It wasn't too bad. I mean, just trying to keep everything lined up and kind of keeping everything together. And then I did not use the screws that came with it. They seemed a little too short for me. So I went ahead and used like 1.5, 1.25, 1.5 inch screws. Just wanted something that I felt would hold it a little bit better.
Alright guys, so finishing touches. Got to put these kind of slat boards, support boards in there. Just cut them to length and you're good to go. So this is the end of this build. I thought it turned out, like really well. It's super sturdy, super heavy. I like it. So now the next thing is finishing it, which that's going to be in another video. So I got some stuff coming up for that. But anyway, if you like it, subscribe. Subscribing is free. It doesn't cost you anything. Subscribe, like. If you have any questions about this build, let me know. Other than that, you guys have a great week. Later.